Now, I would assume for Walter, when he signed with NXT UK, part of the deal would be licensing his name, the Walter name, for merchandising purposes, for shirts, for toys, for whatever. You would think that deal would carry over to NXT.
Yeah.
I'm not in the room negotiating contracts. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
You know, and whether, you know, maybe contracts are reopened, I don't know. Negotiations reopened about terms, I don't know. Like I'm racking my brain to try to find some rationale why they would do it. I'm not talking kayfabe wise, just why they would do it.
Yeah, no,
you know,
would
Walter uncomfortable licensing his name for WB main roster? He wanted to keep that. It's not like he signs it away in perpetuity. It's just for the duration of the deal. Like, you know, like Adam Cole. He can use Adam Cole now.
Yeah.
He licensed that name WB while he's under contract. He's under contract. Bang. He could use it again.
Yeah.
It's not a deal there.
Yeah.
Like from Walter's perspective, I was just trying to think, well, why wouldn't he want to use that name?
Yeah.
And that is the only thing I could think of. But if that were the case, why do you go into NXT UK using the Walter name?
Well, I wonder if I think he probably hit on something there, because I'm trying to figure out, okay, Gunther, Walter, is Gunther a more intimidating name than Walter? Not really. You know, when I think of a dude ambling, you know, Walter, I mean, we talked about this in the pre-show. The name Walter is not the most intimidating name, and therein lies the magic in that you've got this guy who he's not like the most physically gifted jack dude, but he is terrifying. He comes out and he's got this aura about him, and then he's got this reputation of these chops, and they're devastating, and he's a hell of a wrestler on top of that.
I mean, he brings a level of authenticity to his matches that few can match. I mean, his matches seem like fights. They seem like real fights because you could feel the physicality of them.
Yeah, right. Gunther isn't much more intimidating than Walter, but I do wonder if that's sort of the thing. If they just wanted, somebody here mentioned, because they did it because now he's a, Jeremiah says, point is to make him a WWE product, and I think we have to always go back to the business aspect of things.
That's what I was, you know, addressing the name being the name aspect from Walt's perspective, but I think more so it has to do with WWE's perspective, which is, yes, they want to be in control of their IP, this character, so long as you're under contract.
So look at the moves that AEW has made. All of the Undisputed Era, but their names: Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish. That's who they were in WWE.
That's who they were before WWE too.
That's who they were before WWE as well. They've got, AEW is able to perhaps more effectively capitalize on this. Argument could be made on work that they did in WWE. They, you know, I know Undisputed Era was a thing before, but they had their biggest highs in NXT in terms of mainstream popularity in NXT using their names. WWE let them do that. They did the licensing thing. They come over to AEW. They're able to trade on the success they had in WWE. Effectively, WWE is helping now their competition build these names because WWE is going to be doing a bunch of releases. So in order to make that more difficult for their competition to trade on that stuff, everybody now, if you're in WWE, is going to get a name that you cannot use outside WWE. And I wonder if that's the thing. If they know that Walter is a guy who has already succeeded in a lot of other places beyond WWE, if he's gone from WWE, if they decide, hey, we're going to do a release on this guy, well, now when he has the opportunity to be in front of more people via NXT, more people if he goes to main roster within the year, and then he leaves, he's released, or he lets his contract expire, he can't show up and be Gunther. If millions of people are seeing him as Gunther, he can't show up and be Gunther. He's got to be Walter. Which
actually people would be more excited about.
Which we would, sure. We would. But it's not like your casual look. Between 2.1 and 2.3 million people watch SmackDown these days. If Gunther shows up on SmackDown, that's 1.5 million more people than that might not know who, you know, that might not know he was Walter. You know, I mean, I don't know the exact numbers of crossover, but there's a large portion of people who watch SmackDown who don't watch this shit, who don't watch indie wrestling.
Yeah.
And so and when they see Gunther action figures on stores, on shelves in the stores, when they see Gunther t-shirts out and about, If Gunther becomes the biggest thing in SmackDown and he all of a sudden decides, I don't want to be here anymore, guess what? When he goes to AEW, he's not going to be Gunther. He's going to be Walter. Mm-hmm. And then those millions of people that were huge Gunther fans, the guy who dethroned the tribal chief, Gunther, now he's just some dude named Walter? That's weird. I'm not into it.
At the same time, though, I'm sure Gunther isn't just going to become, future Universal Champion on SmackDown by the strength of his name, Gunther. It's because of who he is as a performer. And if you hear, oh, Gunther's leaving WWE, and then you hear, oh, he's going Impact Wrestling. I'll just throw that out there because not everybody can go to AEW. He's going to Impact.
Oh, Gunther will go to AEW.
You catch wind of the wrestler formerly known as Gunther is going to Impact. If you are, number one Gunther fan, you're going to be curious about that, regardless of what his name is. Yeah. I understand the naming idea and how, yes, they let Undisputed Era reach new mainstream heights using their names, and they can take those names with them. I get all that. But at the same time, if you watch NXT and had no idea what AEW was, and then you heard Adam Cole, even the performer known as Adam Cole, was leaving NXT to go to AEW, regardless what his name is. If he was Adam Jenkins, you'd be like, oh, shit. Adam Cole from NXT is going to be to AEW. I love Adam Cole from NXT. I'll see what this Adam Jenkins guy is all about.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I'm just trying to understand from WWE's standpoint, and I'm not saying I like this. I'm just saying this is
I understand your point.
Is a possible reason.
I'm not trying to poke holes in your argument. I'm trying to poke holes in WWE's philosophy.
Oh, it's silly. It's stupid and it's silly.
It should be a massive concern for them. It should be, because what you have here with not just Walter but countless other performers is wrestlers who have built a pretty substantial brand for themselves, and with that comes a following.
Yeah.
And when they start going up the WWE ladder, and you take their name away from them, it's disheartening for the fan base. It is.
Yeah, no, it erodes. I think it erodes consumer trust in the brand. And I mean, it's something that we've seen. Brandon Thurston had a really excellent rundown and just a couple of tweets on Twitter about the value of WWE's name. And I'm going to get to it here as I hem and haw. Let's see here.
It was with the Google search traffic, whatever it was, right?
Yeah, it was. Let's see here. Here we go. This is great. So check this out. He's got a bunch of graphs and stuff that Steve here doesn't understand because I'm dullard. But he says, and it's interesting because right as I'm mentioning this, White Brownie here has the raw ratings in our chat. Thank you, White Brownie. 1.6 million with a 0.43 in the demo. Which is a low overall viewership. It's about on par. Well, it's a little down from the demo usually. But in terms of overall viewership, it's low, but there was like a bunch of competition on that day. So he says this. Raw, this is from yesterday, Brandon Thurston. He's an excellent follow on Twitter. Yes. WrestleNomics is an excellent product. Go check it out. He says, Raw might set a new all-time low tomorrow. They didn't quite do that, but he says this. But as much as fans have anecdotally been turned off over the years, these lines, and he's pointing to a graph, are basically flat, and other sports rights got their fees renewed and multiplied. Unless something changes here, why would WWE be any different? So the change is minimal from WWE and other brands. So
relative to other brands,
relative to other brands. He says this though. This is the interesting part, and this all goes back to the pipe bomb that CM Punk said. He succeeds in spite of himself. He says, make no mistake, though, consumer interest in WWE has diminished. And there's like a ton of Google Trend stuff here, right? He says, both these things can be true, even if it doesn't make for a good, quote, tweet. Their $1 billion deals distract from the notion that those could be $2 billion deals if their audience was bigger.
Yeah,
their
I think
the
idea was
gone
like
down.
The like in terms of Google Trends, which tracks how often and to what degree terms have been searched on Google.
Yeah,
like I believe it was the lowest it's been now since 2007 or 2004.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah,
which in 2004 is when they started tracking that stuff.
Yeah. And it's funny because I had seen this before. I don't think it was Thurston. I forget who it was. Posted something similar that showed up until because somebody, one of his Twitter followers here, says it's Will time. Says WWE had a pop culture moment around 2015 to 2018 where it could have surged. People were ready and they were getting traction. WWE just never produced enough great content to hook people. I saw a thing that showed tracking Google Trends tracking WWE champions up until 2016 Jinder Mahal. And then it took a huge dip and it hasn't recovered since then. And that's when WWE used Jinder to try to penetrate the Indian market. And then just sort of everybody looked at that and was like, man, that really devalued the WWE title as much as you and I love Jinder Mahal. Unfortunately, it looked like he might have helped tank WWE's trending data. Dude, we've seen time and time again, anecdotally, people be turned off by any number of things. Hell, I think we did a countdown episode on it or something, or 10 for the win, something like that. And everything from Seth Rollins versus The Fiend, where people said, oh, I'm out of here. Kofi Kingston losing to Brock Lesnar, I'm out of here, et cetera, et cetera. WWE seems to do this thing where they take their hardcore audience for granted. And maybe they can do that because this is a hardcore fan base and they'll stick around, but I don't know. I like numbers and figures, and Thurston's really good with these numbers and figures.
Yeah, he is.
And who knows if the $1 billion deal could have been a $2 billion deal.
I mean, if they were getting numbers, even they were 2015.
Yeah, I know.
The contract would have been much larger.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's
But you look at this stuff, 1.6 million in the overall viewership. I mean, Raw, when's the last time Raw has achieved a 2 million?
It's been a while.
It's been a while. So it's just one more thing where you have Bruce Pritchard, a late 50s year old guy, or early 60s, whatever he is.
Yeah.
Just another guy without his finger on the pulse. And he does this, and it's to protect, I would assume the real reason here is to protect WWE's business interest and trying to, now that AEW is a thing, limit AEW from being able to capitalize long-term on WWE stars building up their brand, leaving via release or contract expiration, going there and being able to trade on that name that is still on toy stores, on shelves, et cetera, et cetera. Toy stores. Are they even toy stores anymore? Target and Walmart, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
I
mean, this isn't exactly, that practice isn't exactly a new thing, you know? And it's probably, they've kind of circled back to that approach, given what you mentioned, talent leaving WWE properties and going to the competition. But, you know, for a long stretch, anytime they signed anybody from the independent ranks to go to NXT, they had a name change. They usually make a deal about it. Like when Finn Balor got a new name, they made a deal about it. When Kenta got the new name, they made a deal about it. Yeah. You know? And it just seemed like, okay, as NXT grew beyond developmental territory towards third brand, they kind of backed off that to a degree. Like if you were a wrestler with a certain amount of name value, you got to keep your name. Yeah. Others didn't, but some did. And then now probably that NXT is back to developmental predominantly. They don't want wrestlers leaving and capitalizing on the success they've had, or the appearance that wrestlers are capitalizing on the success they've had at WWE. And this is probably just going to be the way going forward.
It probably
Anybody
is.
coming into NXT is going to get a new name.
It's sort of this era, you know, the Nick Khan era, if you will, of they're packaging the company to sell it. And you do that by eliminating the idea that anybody can capitalize off of your IP outside of your own brand, outside of your own company. And they're tightening up their business practices.